Hello everybody, David Schuster here. In the wake of President Biden seeming to refer to Donald Trump supporters as garbage, the Trump campaign is trying to turn the Biden gaffe into a spectacle. Trump's team quickly arranged this photo up in Wisconsin. Donald Trump, dressed in a bright orange uniform, rode around in a garbage truck. But the real takeaway from this stunt? This image here, which might just be the most unflattering photo ever taken of Donald Trump. It looks like he used a bronze paint roller on his face and didn't bother to blend it in with his pasty white forehead near his eyes or above his mouth. Usually presidential candidates rely on a makeup artist, but Donald Trump is notorious for not settling his debts with various campaign contractors. So perhaps the makeup artist on this day said, "I'm not going to finish the job until you pay me, Mr. Orange Man Trump." In any case, this now infamous picture perfectly captures the critique the Harris campaign hammered for several weeks during the summer, that Donald Trump and his campaign colleagues are just weird. You may recall that Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, and their campaign surrogates consistently characterized Trump and Vance's comments and behavior, such as Vance's claim that people without children lack a stake in this country, as weird, disconnected, and out of touch. The description captures, reflects, and amplifies the reactions many people feel towards far-right rhetoric. And so the critique has been relatable and arguably more effective than conventional political messaging. In turn, the term weird has quickly caught on among Democrats because it resonates at a conversational level, which strategists believe is more effective in building public support. By framing opponents in this way, the Harris campaign keeps voters focused on Republicans' perceived eccentricities, steering clear of deeper ideological debates that might not win over undecided voters. What's particularly effective about this label is that many people genuinely do find MAGA world and Trump actions weird. Trump's choice to appear in a garbage man uniform, for example, seems more peculiar than strategic. With less than a week before the election, both candidates need to win over as many independent voters as possible and undecided voters. Yet the Trump campaign's recent stunt seems more likely to entertain his existing base rather than resonate with undecided and independent voters. Not to mention, it's provided Democrats with endless meme material thanks to the photos. This reaction reinforces another emerging narrative. Not only is MAGA world weird, but MAGA Republicans are also quick to play the victim card. The outrage over Biden's comment has been highlighted and has highlighted a pattern that conservatives, especially in MAGA circles, seem to jump at every opportunity to be offended, painting themselves as crybabies and whiners.
You know, I think for most Americans or most Republicans or conservatives, this isn't a mistake. This is just another time that they name called us, okay? It started with deplorables, and then we were racist, and then we were Nazis, and then we were fascists, then we were extremists, now we're garbage. Under Obama, we're the, rednecks who cling to God and guns and all that stuff. They've done nothing but trash us. Us, the supporters of Donald Trump. So when Donald Trump says something like, they're not just coming for me, they're coming for you. This makes it eminently clear that after they get him, they're coming for us, because that's how little they think of us.
The irony, and there are many every time Jeanine Pirro speaks, is that Donald Trump and his supporters have a reputation for making offensive jokes or pushing hateful rhetoric themselves towards people they disagree with. The MAGA minions pride themselves on being tough, politically incorrect, and blunt. However, the moment Trump Republicans are on the receiving end, even if it's a light jab, they shift into victim mode, and this pattern is become a defining feature of the movement's rhetoric. They can dish it out, but they cannot take it. This hypocrisy reflects a contradiction in the MAGA mindset. On one hand, the Trumpsters mock and disparage others unapologetically, often labeling their opponents as delicate snowflakes who can't handle criticism. But on the other hand, MAGA folks react with exaggerated outrage at even the slightest perceived insult. Biden's garbage comment, despite being relatively mild, has sparked an avalanche of backlash from conservative media and social platforms portraying Joe Biden as cruel or disrespectful to real Americans. This double standard, the idea that the MAGA faithful can attack freely but cannot tolerate the smallest in return, has become a common critique of the movement, exposing a sensitive underbelly beneath their tough exterior. Also, many analysts have pointed out that it's not just that conservatives appear to act as snowflakes, but rather they are also fearful of everything, and fear drives so much of the MAGA rhetoric and the one-liners.
Made it to Chicago, where you know what they say, come for the food and stay because you got shot.
One thing I love about this narrative that conservatives try to push, every Democratic-run city is an open-air gun range, it's crime, everybody's getting shot, is that You can't then turn around and call liberals snowflakes because we live in these cities. You can't have it both ways. You can't turn around and then be the forward, tough Republican. No, you're scared. You just said it. Remember, this city's got you shaking in your boots. The blue-haired barista that you're calling a liberal snowflake, she lives in the middle of this city. She walks her dog in the city. She takes the train at night. The train that got you shaking in your boots. We're tougher than you. How are we the snowflakes when we live places that you won't even go? Who's the bitch now?
At the end of the day, a significant element of right-wing politics and movements is rooted in a pervasive sense of fear. Many conservatives tend to exhibit a heightened apprehension about various issues. Fear of losing cultural identity, fear of economic instability, fear of immigration, and fear of social change. This anxiety often fuels a reactionary mindset, leading to narratives that portray the world as a threatening place. In MAGA circles, for instance, adversaries are frequently depicted as existential threats to the nation's values or way of life. Rather than engaging in constructive dialogue, many conservatives retreat into a defensive posture, cultivating hostility towards those they perceive as others. This fear can create a divisive environment that stifles growth and understanding, limiting the potential for healthy discourse. Moreover, the tendency to play the victim card is closely linked to this fear. By portraying themselves as under siege, conservatives can rally support and justify their aggressive tactics. The strategy makes supporters feel that they are defending their way of life against an encroaching danger rather than participating in a meaningful political conversation. Ultimately, this fear-driven approach undermines the potential for a more inclusive and progressive society. Many conservatives find themselves mired in a cycle of anxiety and defensiveness where fear overshadows hope and unity. Instead of looking forward with optimism, right-wing politics often clings to a narrative of vulnerability that perpetuates division rather than focusing on collaboration and understanding. This fear can lead conservatives to embrace authoritarian figures who promise stability, safety, and control. In an uncertain world, in times of anxiety, many people are drawn to leaders who project strength and decisiveness, even if that means sacrificing democratic principles or civil liberties. Authoritarian figures often capitalize on these fears, presenting themselves as a solution to perceived threats and positioning themselves as protectors of a threatened way of life. This dynamic creates a dangerous cycle where the desire for safety and security can overshadow the values of freedom and open dialogue, further entrenching a political landscape that favors authoritarianism over democracy. One final example. The Trump MAGA fear about immigrants overrunning America and causing violent mayhem. The reality is that the number of undocumented migrants crossing the border each month now is lower than it was at the end of the Trump administration. Also, cities and towns with large migrant communities in the United States have lower crime rates than cities with smaller percentages of migrants. And overall violent crime in the United States, according to the FBI, has dropped to the lowest level in 50 years. But these facts are inconvenient to a MAGA movement and to Donald Trump. So Trump creates his own frightening narrative, scaring the crap out of many Americans who are not doing their own homework and setting up an opportunity for Trump himself to be the savior for people who are fearful. And Trump gets to amplify his claims and talking points across conservative media. And nothing gets viewers to engage with the media as much as fear. If you believe that a newspaper or television channel understands your fear and is giving you answers or helping you solve the alleged problem, perhaps through a political leader, you're going to feel more connected to that media platform. Your connection creates a larger community where you feel safe and feel understood. And you keep going back to that media platform for more validation of your feelings, even if the fear is based on nonsense and a bizarro fantasy world. But that is what Donald Trump, MAGA, and conservative media have created. And their insecurities become exposed when their fears or claims are insulted or mocked, or even when a bad makeup job reveals the truth. In MAGA world, and with Donald Trump, it's all just a phony, sloppy, although sometimes scary show. I'm David Schuster. Thanks for joining us.
If you enjoyed this video, that's because of our members. They make us independent, they make us strong, and they make us honest. Become a member today by hitting the join button below.